I'm Dr. Kathleen Decker. I'm the Eastern Region Vice President for the Poetry Society of Virginia, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to this reading of some of the poets who are part of the reverse ekphrastic exhibit and project, which is called Views of Virginia. This project is to celebrate the centennial of the Poetry Society of Virginia, as well as our collaboration with two other organizations, the Muse Writing Center in Norfolk, Virginia, and the Appomattox Regional Governor's School, from which we have half the poets who are student poets. And so I'd like to introduce Susan Deutsch for a second, who is from the Muse. You want to say a couple words, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Deutsch. I'm the Events and Community Program Manager at the Muse Writing Center, and we're really excited to be hosting this exhibit, really excited to have a combination of words and art on our walls. So it's been an honor to collaborate, and very excited to have it up in the space.
Thank you, Susan, and we are so excited to deepen our collaboration between PSV and you folks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a PowerPoint. So Molly, if you'll go ahead and unmute yourself while I'm doing that. Let's see.
Oh, wow. Look at that. The fun part is seeing the painting.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, I guess, huh?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me position your face just right. Okay, Molly. So please go ahead and read your poem here. And let me see if I can hide this bottom bar so it's not in the way. All right. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kathleen. Ode to Callis Wharf Packing House. Cockeyed metal awning droop over your west-facing windows. For sale signs shed like skin from rough wood siding. Your bayside door opens to spray. Broken sills lurch leeward. Bleached planking gleams with afternoon light. What's left of day squints between shingles tossed and torn. Gaps command as much respect as worn creases of a well-used map. From the kayak, I watch watermen pull up crab pots. They say this measly harvest comes from farm runoff, hungrier predators, less seagrass. The wind blows from the northwest at almost 10 knots. The heart of your place leans inward into itself, a reverent salute to work done here. I yearn for memories whispered by fishermen who tied their crafts to your crumbling wharf. Atop the roof, a pair of osprey coax their fledglings. Ferns grow from rotted crumbs of pier decking. In a tree between here and home, a pair of eagles nest. Everyone in the neighborhood loves welcoming those birds back year after year. When I walk through your yard, I see pennywort, fringed sedge, trumpet vine, and blood pink centers of marshmallow blooms. Once raised, your remains will be slim. Shards of glass, rotten splinters, a few old rusty nails, bound to be swept by the wind.
Thank you so much, Molly. Where I can, I will read artist statements. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and just highlight myself, I guess. So spotlight, there we go. So this particular watercolor was done by Cathie Abell-Nelson. She's a professional artist, and she is in Poquoson, and she has an art and framing shop. And some of the art that you're going to see today was done expressly for our exhibit, and some of it was done for other purposes and is going to be part of our exhibit. And this is one which she had already done, but she and I both thought it fit your poem so well, with the, fading and rusted building in the dock, and you can't see the ospreys, but we know they're there. And so it's a wonderful poem that you've come up with here, and I think Cathie really captured it with her painting.
Thank you. I agree. Thanks so much for doing this.
As you can see, long poems didn't fit on one PowerPoint slide. So hopefully you have your whole poem you can go ahead and read.
I certainly do. And yeah, I find early morning running to be A great way to settle your mind and get your day started. So this is Perspective. 3 a.m. running on the highway, no traffic, no headlights, just a sliver of moon with its phosphorescent glow. Stars so bright and huge, it seems I could reach up and pluck them like fat hairs dangling from a low branch. Light fills my body until I'm floating among them, muscle strain as forgotten as lessons learned in school. 1 mile farther, stoplight's green glare chases back the stars, and each step closer feels like a kite being reeled back to earth. At the intersection, the gas station's neon and floodlights blacken the sky until all that's left is the moon's wry smile. Legs now heavier, slower. I ponder perspective, how it's possible to witness the same thing from 2 vantage points and draw different conclusions. A message there for politics, race relations, every form of us versus them. But the string of it slips through my fingers, and soon enough I'm floating again, once more filled with far-off light.
Thank you, Bill. And what I think is fascinating is that this poem of yours about perspective inspired 2 completely different artworks. And I'm going to stop sharing a second so that I can, let's see, remove spotlight. There we go. I'm going to stop sharing a second so I can read to you what the notes say. So I got to view notes. Okay. All right, so the first artist on the left, that is a very abstract piece, her name is Tenley Raithel. And she says, reading Bill Glose's poem, Perspective, I felt a connection with the contrast and conflict between light and dark and the us versus them feuding that is such a problem in our culture. People not being able to listen to others with different viewpoints, with kindness and respect, or to stop and consider each other. This conflict is strong and overpowering. How can we find our perspective? When working to interpret this poem in an abstract style, I used round shapes to represent the moon and stars, whether in light or dark. The circle is a symbol of unity and infinity. Light can be seen in the darkness. As light moves into the darkness, they both change, but they coexist. It is possible to witness the same thing from 2 vantage points, 2 points of view. The stars move freely and do not seem bothered by their surroundings. Could the stars be our distant truth? Reach out, touch the stars. There we find guidance, inspiration. Our search for perspective will unite us. Don't let the string slip through your fingers. As an artist, it was a joy to interpret this poem. And the second one, which is not a portrait of Bill.
No.
It's a female running, but it was also done for this by Basik. He says, I'm a watercolor painter who focuses on capturing narration in figure paintings. In this illustration of Bill Glose's poem Perspective, I tried to capture both the grandeur of starlit night and the more terrestrial lights on the road. I hope that the figure of the runner adequately shows her in motion and her isolation on this lonely road. We can assume the thoughts are those expressed by Mr. Glose.
Thank you, Kathleen. And this was a great project, so thank you for including us. My poem is called Protectors. When the light creeps over us, it smells like wet earth after rain. We reach for it, shaking off our slumber, comforting finches, robins who still doze, imagining their earliest days in the nest. We shake off our aches, weight of years of trees clinging to us in storms, or when they quake hearing the whir of lumberman saws. We feel the coolness of waters rush over our rocks and White Oak Canyon, hear deer's hooves trip along our paths. We listen when people walk or climb amongst us, as they seek solace amongst our pines, or as they press upon the trunks together, kissing. When dusk descends in a crescendo of purple, mauve, vermilion, coolness like peace, like forgiveness, nestles upon us. We would rest finally, holding our trees, creatures, people. We are Shenandoah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. So this artwork is entitled Blue Mountain by Monica Schauffler. And it's sort of funny because several of our artists are out of the United States right now. So she did not include an artist statement. So I'll simply interpret it a little bit for us. We see a bird. It could be an eagle. It's not a finch because it doesn't have the right color. It might even be a robin, but it's got a pretty big wingspan. And then, of course, those look a lot like the Blue Ridge Mountains, and she entitled it Blue Mountain. But it fits your description, I think, very well of the trees being our protectors.
Yeah, thank you. I love how she interpreted it. So that's very exciting. Thank you.
Okay, so Obelia, anytime you're ready, if you want to read this poem, and then I have quite a bit to say about the artwork.
Okay. Fried history. To the little girl who loved fried chicken until she saw the cartoons that mocked her. Take a load off, Lena May. Come have a seat by me. I want to share history that's worthy of mention. Less than 100 years ago, in a town an hour north of Richmond, Black women were building houses out of chicken. It started in the mid-1800s when trains became popular. Gordonsville was a hub for transportation. An opportunity sprang up, creating an income source for those seeking work after emancipation. Dining cars didn't exist, and passengers would be hungry. Women learned to make money from their kitchens. From slave to self-employed, waiter carriers were born, making the town the world's capital for fried chicken. Passengers placed orders from windows to the women on the platform, who trekked miles with coffee meals and pies in tow. They set their hours and prices, set side dishes and spices with no cap on how high their incomes could grow. Imagine being denied every right but earning economic freedom to put your name on the house you bought then. They earned to build schools, assist neighbors, and contribute to fundraisers. These quieter activists should never be forgotten. So eat your chicken with pride. It was meant to be enjoyed. Bella Winston and others brought fame to VA. We won't be ashamed of the road ancestors paved. Get rest. I'll speak on watermelon another day.
That last line just slays me. I'll speak on watermelon another day. So this is an art quilt. This is what the medium is for this. And you can see, well, it doesn't help if I point to my screen, so I'll use the pointer. These are tiny crystals that have been hot glued to the quilt. And this is very three-dimensional. Well, it's more than two-dimensional, let's just say that. There are all kinds of what we call embellishments glued on. And this is a photograph printed on fabric. Jennie Tankersley Ballou is the artist here. And this is an actual street sign. This is an actual photo from, or drawing from 1864. This was called the Grand Contraband Camp. And I don't know a lot about it, but it was in 1864, it was the first self-contained Black community in the US, and it was near Fort Monroe, so it's actually quite local to us. And it was during and immediately after the American Civil War. It was a refuge for freed and escaped slaves that the Union forces were refusing to return to their Confederate masters. So it doesn't have chicken in it, but but I hope it captures some of the feeling that you have in your poem.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see the interpretations and see what people put, because I figured, there's a lot of different pieces and things here. So yeah,
There are.
I love the pictures and the marker.
Yes, she's very Jennie is very imaginative, and I think she will be at the reception but couldn't be here tonight. And again, this thing just glistens. Like if you look at this yellowish stuff here, this is called Angelina fiber, and it's shiny, it's metallic looking, and then of course the crystals sparkle. So it adds a lot to the overall painting. Well, not painting, it's a quilt. Okay. So I need to explain something before I put on the picture here. We ended up with more poems than art. We have 40 poems in the exhibit right now, and we only have 24 art pieces. So when Terry Cox Joseph and I curated this, we sometimes do I call double poeming, which means we'll put 2 poems with 1 piece of art, or in some cases, 2 pieces of art with 1 poem, depending on whether 2 artists, like in the case of Bill Glose, 2 different artists insisted they had to have his poem. And so rather than say, no, you have to have a different poem, or the same thing with art. So yours is going to be the following.
Yes, this is a lot of fun, and I like the artwork. So here we go. The title of my poem is Alive with Hair. I am alive. I have my hair and clever lungs, pink and puffy in and out. It is early. It is morning. The Blue Ridge black this morning. Songbirds lick their voices at the dead thing in my hand. I am lighter than before, light where light has never been, where you were, dead thing. Lord, how I love this bird song, how it licks into the quiet places, licks the morning yellow under custard-colored sky. I am sorry you have died, dead thing, and cannot come after berries I would pick, to feed you one by one, blackberries, to fill the bucket up for home, for tea with mother's milk, sugar sucked from island cane, chattering the fishbone cup. Imagine, dead thing of the rhythmic dark, how blackberries wear their seeds upon their skin, symmetrical and sweet for anyone to see. This summer's good, especially good for blackberries. I stuff my mouth with berries.
Well, I want to clap after each of your poems. That's just awesome. And so when I read your poem, of course, there's a lot more to it than the Blue Ridge Mountains, but because there were the Blue Ridge Mountains were in your poem, it got paired with that. And again, it may be that we'll get some additional art from the students at ARGS, the Appomattox Regional Governor School. And my hope is that we'll end up with 40 poems in the book and 40 different pieces of art in the book. But meanwhile, there are so many beautiful images in your poem, Wendell. It's just wonderful. And that first stanza just grabs you. Clever lungs, pink and puffy in and out. We won't ask what that's about. But thank you for sharing what's very intensely personal about it.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's really great to be here.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop recording. So this has been a recording of a few of the poets. And this exhibit is running at the Muse Center in Norfolk, Virginia from May 1st until July 30th. I can't remember if it has 30 or 31 days. And we want to, the Poetry Society of Virginia, on behalf of its president, Terry Cox Joseph, and myself, we want to deeply thank Susan and Susan Deutsch, and let's see, there we go. Susan Deutsch, there you are spotlighted. And Sean Gerwin, who are helping to organize down at the Muse, and then their librarian, whom I met today, Charles Rhodes, who is. But we want to thank you so much. We're very excited about all of this.